What's up, Internet? Got another new review for you guys. This is for Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with this is Gary Oldman's new movie, you know, the guy who plays Commissioner Gordon in Batman movies. So, I was pretty psyched to see this. So, let's get right into this. So, this takes place in the midst of the Cold War, you know, and there's apparently a mole at the top of the food chain in the British Secret Services, which is referred to in this movie as the Circus. And they got a lot of cool little nicknames for all the things, which was one of the neat things about this movie, that they go into this whole era and really take it on with really clever, you know, subtle dialogue, not beating you over the head with it, but throwing in some neat little words and little quips that are really cool and interesting to hear people use. But that's just a very basic setup of what this movie is. And to be honest, this movie is way too complicated for me to go really into detail about what it's about. And you just gotta have to see it for yourself, I guess. But, so this is, you know, one of those complex movies, if you will, that in the beginning it makes you feel slightly lost because this movie's so subtle and it's quiet and it's being slow and it's throwing all this stuff at you like in like a really weird way. And that isn't necessarily such a bad thing because there's a need for a lot of the setup, because all the information that comes into you at the second act wouldn't make any sense if they didn't delve into all that stuff that, yeah, could be considered a little boring, but it's necessary for that momentum that the movie gains, you know, like through the second act, that really like picked it up for me because it brings in this conflict that really brings you in. And there's even some, you know, jaw-dropping visuals at like certain points, but those are really like kind of far and few in between. Like the visual part of it is mostly, I noticed, in that second act when it really like drew me in. Like the second act to this film was kudos to the filmmaker, because this is probably the strongest part of the movie. This movie, I'd heard it had been described as a puzzle, and after seeing it, I can definitely agree with that. It's set up in a very strange way, flipping back and forth between times, assuming that you're following correctly, because this movie doesn't have time for people who are not paying attention. This is a 2-hour movie that is just going. It's not going very fast, but if you miss something, you'll feel lost. You know, and it flowing through all the different times, it can get sporadic along the way, but it still holds up. This is definitely, though, something that I would consider, I wouldn't consider rewatching, though, because the way that the movie flows along is once you figure out, like, what that little twist is going to be and the changes that occur in the movie, it's that whole part of scratching your head, wondering how it's going to end, you know, that sense of conclusion that I didn't even get in the first place from this, and it may be that I'm not smart enough to follow it, but the sense of conclusion that you should get from a really good movie, I didn't get from this, and I completely understood what was going on. Because when this ends, you know, the film, like, really refuses to speed up, you know, like when it should, like, when it ends, so it can really, like, get all its points across. But this movie left me unsatisfied, you know, it left me really hungry for more, and there were so many questions I had that I felt were unanswered. Like, you see everything that happens at the end, but there's certain things about characters and questions that they make you raise that I felt were never answered, so it just left me wanting more. But to end this, you know, on a lighter note, every single actor in this movie is great. All the performances are very, very well done. Everyone's an extreme talent in this movie and deserves to be recognized for their performances. And a kudos to the director in this film, because putting this puzzle together must have been a real challenge and one heck of an endeavor. I will mention, though, this was a book, so probably the people who read the book are like, oh my god, this is amazing, because they know all those things that the writer put in about the thoughts that aren't projected on screen, because it's a lot about, like, reading people's faces, you know, and, like, seeing how they're feeling. All these performances are really subtle, they're really brilliant, but the fact is that this is 2 hours long, and I couldn't have seen myself paying to see this in theaters. There's no way. I mean, if I wouldn't have had a screening of this, I wouldn't have seen this in theaters. But this is definitely something I recommend that all of you should rent. It's a thinker, and it's interesting, though, but you got to be ready to sit down and be able to pay attention for a 2-hour movie, because, you know, you'll get a little something out of it. there's something to be seen here. So, thanks for watching my reviews, guys. Please continue to tell me how much I suck and subscribe. And tomorrow, I'm going to see a screening of Tintin. I also will have reviews of Mission Impossible coming up. I cannot wait to see that. I hear it's amazing. And I cannot wait to see The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That'll be interesting hearing my review because I have not read the books, nor have I seen this original Swedish version of the film. So that'll be my first viewing, I guess, of that story. So thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.